Thank you so much, Blaine. We're actually on the field here, and of course we'll be getting reactions from various leaders of various political parties. But right now I'm joined by the EFF's spokesperson, Mr. Sinawo Thambo. Sinawo, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. You've come here as the EFF to pay your respects to the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi.
Yes, absolutely. The Commander-in-Chief and President of the EFF, Julius Malema, is here in attendance with the Secretary General Marshal Dlamini and the Deputy President Floyd Shivambu. The former National Chairperson Dalia Mbofu is also here with us today, amongst the presence of the former presidents of South Africa and other political parties, to pay our respects to a prolific statesman in South Africa and someone who was playing a critical role in terms of the Zulu national kingdom here in South Africa. So we're here to send our last wishes of respect, to say that we recognize the contribution he's made to the struggle for liberation in South Africa, and we're here to bow our heads in honor of him.
Mr. Thambo, the EFF has ended their working relationships with, the IFP earlier on this year. But of course, during the memorial service, we heard Dr. Mbuyiseni insisting that the two parties would come together and work together again ahead of next year's elections.
Look, it's something that I think any self-respecting African should hope for, that African institutions find each other ahead of one of the most landmark elections that are going to be held in South Africa and in Africa in 2024 here in South Africa. So the Inkatha Freedom Party is an institution of African people, and of course the EFF is one of those as well. So we don't seek to have long-standing animosity with an African institution in South Africa ahead of elections in particular. So that can be explored. We reiterate the sentiments that were made by Dr. Mbuyiseni that we should seek peace amongst institutions of African people.
But this is despite the IFP joining the multi-party charter coalition, and of course they've declared the EFF and the ANC as enemy number one.
Look, anything can happen in politics. Their participation in the Moon Pact or multi-party coalition for change or something in South Africa is not something that's stagnant. Politics are ever evolving. A lot can happen in a short space of time. A lot can happen before the elections in 2024. So those conversations are going to continue, but definitely we have been engaging with the leadership of the IFP during the preparations for the burial of Umntwana wakwaPhindangene, and those conversations are going to continue and hopefully foster good relations as we once held with them.
Some have said that the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi had a controversial, past or history. We heard also the EFF saying on Wednesday that, they shouldn't tell history otherwise. You have said that he was a man of peace.
Look, he was a man of peace in terms of the fact that peace is not pursued amongst friends. Peace is pursued amongst people who have antagonisms amongst each other, people who have contradictions and challenges and are disagreeing. So to say he was pursuing peace is not incorrect. Peace is achieved difficultly, and thankfully it was achieved in South Africa post-1994, and Umntwana wakwaPhindangene was part and parcel of ensuring that terms of stability. And in terms of the life of the EFF in particular, he was part of ensuring that we're able to campaign freely in our formative stages here in KZN. So a man of peace is someone who pursues peace with his enemies. You don't pursue peace with your friends. So we're here, and we're going to pay our respects.
Lastly, he was the oldest serving member of parliament. I mean, you're a parliamentarian yourself. At times, sometimes you'd actually scold the EFF in parliament. Just share with us some of those light-hearted moments, but also what have you learned from him?
Look, he was an elder. He was someone who didn't like conflict. One of the most heartfelt moments was when Dr. Mbuyiseni warned him that you'll have to move aside when we were going to be beaten up by those thugs of the white shirts. And he reported that to the Speaker of the House, that I'm being told to move here in anticipation of some sort of altercation. So he was an elder, he was a leader, he was a statesman, someone with vast experience in resolving conflicts in South African society. And we learned that from him. We learned from him how to be able to maintain an institution of importance in Africa in terms of the Zulu nation and Zulu kingdom. And we hope that stability that he was working for almost 7 decades, that stability and peace he worked for within the Zulu kingdom, which is so important in the history of Africa and the history of South Africa as well, will be maintained, and that we'll all draw those lessons of how to keep the unity amongst our people.
Mr. Thambo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Of course, Blaine and Bongi, we continue to bring you just some reactions from the various political party leaders here. Of course, you can see they're actually behind the tents. You've also got, various dignitaries coming, not only from South Africa, but of course from, Africa and from the world. We know that former president of Nigeria, Mr. Obasanjo, is also here in attendance. Remember, remember he was a long-standing friend of, the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And of course, interesting sights that we've been seeing throughout the stadium. If I'll just ask Kwazi to quickly pan before I toss to you guys in our studio, you can see the Amabutho just trekking the field. We've also got beautiful Zulu maidens as well. And of course, this is all in anticipation of, the mortal remains of the Prince coming into the stadium. Of course, shortly the program will start. And with that, I toss back to you in our studio, Bongiwe and Blaine.